Hello, everyone. I'm Wendell Jones. I'm the ambassador of the Bahamas to the United States of America, and it's a pleasure to be in this session today. This is the sixth webinar that we are sponsoring, engaging members of the Bahamian diaspora in the United States of America. We are having on a monthly basis conversations with the diaspora so that we can have an idea of what they are doing in the United States and the extent to which they can assist in our national development efforts in the Bahamas. We have engaged Bahamians and some descendants of the Bahamas on a variety of topics. And so today we are going to have a general discussion, and I am pleased to have with us today Dr. B.P. Walker, who is a physician, an educator, a consultant, and an entrepreneur. She combines wellness and adult learning principles with entrepreneurship and small business development. Welcome to Dr. Walker. And then we have the Honorable Shannon Ighodaro. She is a city councilwoman from the city of Miami Gardens in Florida, and she is Chief Executive Officer of Oracle Public Relations. She has been doing that from 2008 to the present. And then the two gentlemen that we have with us are Edwin Smith. He is the first Bahamian drafted into the Professional Football League and played 4 seasons with the Denver Broncos. And Ed Smith, welcome. Also on the program today is Lavelle Saunders, who is Vice President, Sales, Engineering, and Professional Services at Merchant Payments, a fintech in the United States. He has tremendous experience working with a diverse group of organizations. Welcome to this webinar, and I trust that our conversation would be enlightening, and Bahamians would get to know more of what you are doing, and as I said, the extent to which you can assist us in our national development efforts, our goals in the Bahamas. Let's begin the conversation by you telling us some more about yourselves. We begin with Dr. Walker.
Hello, thank you for having me. Good to see everybody and to meet others that I haven't formally been introduced prior. That's a bit of a loaded question. So little background, so everybody's clear. Granddaughter of C.R. Walker and Mabel Walker. So the United States was not a foreign concept because my grandmother was an American. And so I am a physician, but my career took a different trajectory that kind of reflects what the family's been involved in. And so I describe myself as an economic developer. And so my career path has been starting with small business development, working as a director funded by the Small Business Administration. And then from there, I kind of parlayed that into financial education, focusing on women entrepreneurs, taking that background knowledge and then applying it to higher ed. I became a director and dean of allied health at a university in Washington, D.C. So I had a stint in higher education for a while. And then that transitioned into consulting for DC government, applying all of those concepts along adult learning, higher education, small business development, community development. And so professionally, I am an economic developer. Personally, I approach all my work as a Bahamian, which kind of rubs people a little bit the wrong way because I have a certain standard. But I am a Grandstown girl to my heart. And so that's how I approach my work, that every community is trying to be as great as over the hill. And so it's my job just to apply every skill and knowledge that I have to the work that I'm on. So that's just a little bit about me.
I know. Okay, we can go on and on, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Let's listen to Ms. Ighodaro. Tell us of your involvement in government and entrepreneurship and business in Florida.
Thank you so very much, Ambassador Jones. It is indeed a pleasure to be here with you and such a diverse and awesome panel. I was actually smiling when she mentioned being the granddaughter of E.P. Roberts, which is a school that I'm very much familiar with. But I am Count Darrow. I was born and raised in the Bahamas. I am located currently in the city of Miami Gardens, which is the largest African-American city in the entire state of Florida. So a bit of the professional side, I was elected in 2020 in a record-breaking election, winning 64.3% of the votes. And I truly believe, Ambassador Jones, that that was in huge part to the amazing Bahamians who are located within the city of Miami Gardens. As you all would know, Florida is but a stone throw away from the Bahamas. And so I came here at the age of 23, the first in my family to attend university. So I attended Florida Memorial University, the only HBCU in South Florida, home to many Bahamians currently. And having been, I think, if I think back, Mr. Ingram, Robert B. Ingram, many of you may know who he was. He was an amazing mentor to myself and many Bahamian students, and really allowed me to understand that politics is really important in terms of professional advancement, and certainly on a more personal note. I am currently CEO of Oracle PR, which is a full staff public relations firm. And I know that you understand, Ambassador Jones, the importance of getting the message across. I'm very happy and very honored to be here. I do think that Conversations with the Diaspora is an amazing initiative. And I look forward to meeting with each and every one of the panelists and getting to know them more. Thank you so very much for having me.
Good. Thank you so very much too. And you're from Palmetto Avenue, right?
Yes, sir.
In Nassau.
Nassau, Bahamas. Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's listen to Ed Smith. It's been a long time, Ed Smith. I'm sure you have a whole lot of fans still in the Bahamas, even though you are not in professional football anymore. Ed?
Greetings again to everyone. And once again, Ambassador, I'd like to congratulate you on your success being named to an ambassador here in the U.S. Representing the Bahamas. As you know, it's such a pleasure to be a part of this distinguished panel. I was born in Baintown, actually on the corner of Three Peas Corner and Meadow Street. That was my stomping grounds. I moved from Baintown and went to Grantstown through Martin Street. I'm sure Mr. Walker can associate with Martin Street, because many days I helped to take all the sandwiches and cakes up to the wedding hall that her parents owned. Many wedding receptions and parties, and it seemed like every day something was going on there. And we used to sit on the wall and help to take all the goodies upstairs. And that way we get our little sandwich and cake as a result. So it's great meeting you, and look forward to further conversations with you. As someone else mentioned, I was the first in my family, one of 9 children, born to Alexon and Elizabeth Smith, to have the opportunity to come to the U.S. to attend college. So I welcomed the opportunity and had a chance to attend Colorado College. After leaving St. Augustine's for a while, I came to Colorado College, and from there, I had an opportunity to play professional football, which was quite a surprise to me, because Colorado College is a Division III school, and Division school scouts just don't go to Division III schools looking for potential future players. But that opportunity worked out well, and I played until I had a knee injury. and that ended my career. At that time, I went back to the Bahamas for a while, and just to relax and get back to knowing what's going on in the Bahamas, and I ended up in the nightclub business, and did that for about 5 years, and decided that that's not what my future was planned, and I ended up coming back to the U.S., got married and 2 children, and went into the banking business. Did that for about 8 years, and then decided that I wanted to do something on my own, so I started developing real estate. In the banking business, I was a financial analyst for Rocky Mountain Bank card system, which we dealt with credit cards and processing credit cards. And that's something, after I left Rocky Mountain Bank card, I tried to implement that in the Bahamas, but the Bahamas at that time wasn't ready for the credit card industry. It was pretty much a cash society, and that's something that we said that cash is going to disappear at some point. And as you look at where we stand today, it's pretty much has become a cashless society. Right. So I was a little bit ahead of the curve, and but since then I got into the real estate development business, and spent the last few years doing that, and then and just various different projects that I've been doing over the years. Okay. I recently moved from Denver to Tampa, Florida, because my son lived here with his children. So my wife and I decided, let's move to Tampa and spend time with the grandkids. His name is Alex Smith, and he played in the league, the National Football League, also for 12 years. Good. And now he's working on becoming the general manager for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay. So
let's hear some of the career paths of Mr. Saunders.
Well, I hope everybody, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here among such a distinguished panel of folks. And I will apologize ahead. I am currently in Brazil, so if I go in and out, the reception here is not the best. But I am Lavelle Saunders. I am born and raised Bahamian. A proud member of the CC Sweden Coke family from back in the day when we used to get the nickname the Big Dollhouse. That gave me my springboard to do a lot in life. And I was raised in the Grove out west, through that and the relationship that I've made throughout, I think really helped me throughout my career. I attended, St. in North Carolina, primarily because Mother Pratt, was heavily recruiting for St. Aug at the time. And so I was one of probably about 2,000 Bahamians there. At least that's what it felt like. But there was a lot of Bahamians at St. Aug. And, it was a great experience. I did engineering, went on to do grad school at Cornell. And I've been working in the fintech field now for the last few years. I mean, one of the things that you said, Mr. Smith, about the payments field and about the future of money, that's a lot of what I work in. I work in the payment space. My company does probably about $18 billion a year in transactions. But I'm in the process now of moving on to another firm where I will be making that announcement within another week or so. But the payment space is, it's probably one of the more critical spaces to be in now, because I'm here in Rio and practically nobody uses cash. Your phone is being used everywhere. And even back in the States, for the most part, I can just take my phone with me wherever I go and be able to use that for all types of transactions. But I believe that, the whole fintech space is a very, very strong space to be in right now, whether you're on the payment side, whether you're on the cryptocurrency side, or whether you're on the blockchain side. There's so much that's happening within this arena. I think that, to be here, to be learning it from the ground up, to be very involved from a corporate perspective, and leading large teams and new markets and new products that we're putting out there, it's a great experience. And I hope, to be able to hopefully convey and take some of this experience back home to the Bahamas one day.
Thank you so very much. And as I often say, when we engage Bahamians across the United States through the wonders of technology, the Zoom, we are able to get information from hundreds of Bahamians to know what they're doing and how they can assist us in our national development goals. And so let's have a conversation, as this webinar is called, Conversations with the Diaspora. And I'm going to ask a general question, and perhaps you all can chime in. And we begin with Dr. Walker. Dr. Walker, how do you see yourself assisting this country in its national development efforts? I'm talking about the Bahamas.
That's a big question. And for a lot of years, I probably wouldn't have known how to answer it until like maybe very recently. Because I always struggled when I would return, why I would return, what would I do? But I see my role as being the subject matter expertise on the overall planning of how do we get our local communities, our neighborhoods, our constituencies to be involved, fully involved in the economic pie that's called the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And so that's a big challenge, but it involves many different disciplines that, fortunately for my career, I've been able to leverage those. So that means you got to have adult and higher education, you got to have health and wellness, you got to have nonprofit and small business development. All of those elements have to work together, but you got to devise a strategy. And that's my sweet spot. What is the strategy for each neighborhood? What are they going to do differently to be a part of the total country? And I know that's a foreign concept. It's hard to kind of imagine what that would be, but I think that's my role. I help communities determine that. So right now I'm working in Washington, D.C. and Fairfax County. I'm doing the same thing. How do communities think of themselves? What's their vision? And then how does that vision tie into the larger geography? And I sincerely believe that particularly the historical neighborhoods on each of the islands have a role to play. And I think it's a larger role than previously they've played in the overall economic prosperity, development of product and services, developing of new industries, et cetera. So I think that's my role. I'm strategy, I'm vision, I'm collectively bringing people together, and then I'm instituting the programs that they need to be a participant in what is called Commonwealth. Yes. That's the deep part. It's in our name. How do we make wealth common? We gave ourselves a challenge when we wrote the Constitution.
Okay, Megadoro, you are stone's throw away from the Bahamas, serving in Florida. How do you see yourself assisting in our national development?
Great question. Thanks again. As Dr. Walker was saying, she's a strategist at heart. I guess you have two strategists on the call today. I truly believe that the way we think as strategists is how do we get from not just A to Z, and in particular as it relates to, as you mentioned, I was taking some notes, assisting you with your goals to help our friends and family and to help our country, the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. So in developing a strategic mindset, I truly believe it is important for each and every one of us to not just meet as on this platform, but to understand what that goal is that you have or what your goals are. And now develop that within our own strategic guidelines. So if I were to say from a position of leadership and authority as a politician or as a public servant or policy maker, my goal is always to empower. And so I believe that empowerment, particularly for women in the Bahamas, is going to be a crucial niche. I mean, the truth is in our lifetime, or perhaps within the next 10 years or 5 years, would we be able to see a female as Prime Minister of the Bahama Islands. And certainly that is attainable and it's achievable, but it's getting together what your goals are in terms of your leadership role and fitting that into whatever each and every one of us are doing. As each panelist, in the brief statements that they made initially, I was really thinking strategically, how can I partner with Dr. Walker? How can I partner with Mr. Smith? How can I partner with Mr. Saunders to be able to take what they have, take what I have, take what we have collectively, and to be able to take that back home. So in the areas of female empowerment, women empowerment, and certainly pushing to get women into places of leadership. And I have right here in the city of Miami Gardens, having remembered myself as that 23-year-old student, Ambassador Jones, really believing that mentorship is going to continue to be at the core of what we do as leaders, to be able to reach back and to help another Bahamian student. I think it's important. We talk about, as women, you hear women's empowerment being, tossed out, but the true empowerment, I believe, is when we help people and we show them and we teach them how to fish. And I truly believe that Dr. Walker is able to teach women how to fish, and certainly myself, I'm looking forward to meeting with her on a more personal note. So once again, thank you for the question.
Yes, very, very good. This week in New Providence, we had Diplomatic Week, and we talked about sustainable goals, sustainable development goals. And Ed Smith, as a former professional football player, we have a lot of young men who are at risk in the Bahamas. We have some social development challenges. How do you see yourself giving back to assist young men in particular?
Sports, I believe sports is a very good vehicle to help people, as Dr. Walker referred to, the health and wellness. And I think when people have young men have a chance to compete, it starts to lay a foundation for them and to help them with their growth. And this is something I've been thinking very strongly about, is how this particular question that you're asking right now really has been something that I've given a lot of thought to. And what I would like to do is see more development of different sports facilities all over the country. Here in the US now, they're building these sports performance facilities, which helps young folks, give them an outlet to do more than just sit around the streets and think of crazy things to do. So by participating in different sporting activities, I think it helps to put their mind in a whole different perspective of success. When we look back at Bahamians and what they've been able to achieve on the national scene, the international scene, there are a lot of great athletes that have come out of the Bahamas. Mm-hmm. And this is something that I think we can build on and even, get down to the grassroots, because you don't know what you have until you put to the test. And a lot of people haven't had that opportunity in the school systems. It takes revenue to put into the school systems to say, let's be able to provide these kids for the proper baseball field and the gloves, et cetera, bats, et cetera, so they can compete with each other. I know attending St. Augustine's had those types of equipment and therefore always excelled in sports. And that tradition has carried on to where once I came to the US, I was far behind a lot of the kids here in the US, but I consider myself an athlete and I was from the Bahamas, so there's no way anyone is going to be better than I am. So I just took that attitude that I'm going to go out there and do my best. And it really just worked it to the utmost to achieve whatever the goal is that I wanted to achieve. And so this is something by the developing these different sports performance facilities, and not only Bahamians would participate in that, but it would also be a way to attract tourism. So there's being talk about sports tourism, and this is a good way. People want to come to the Bahamas and train in the off season when there's, snow and ice on the streets in different parts of the European world and Canada and these places. Athletes want to come down to a place where they can relax and enjoy the beach and still practice and do whatever they need to do to stay in shape. So these are the kind of things that I would like to see develop, and I would like to spearhead at some point in the near future.
Very good. Mr. Saunders, as I mentioned, the social development goals, they have to do with reducing poverty, dealing with inequality, and enhancing social justice, and all of these type things. There is a need for Bahamians in the diaspora to come forward with suggestions and programs. And so how do you see yourself playing a part there?
I think, one of the best things I think that we can do is certainly be able to give back. And I think being involved with so many different programs here in the U.S. Through those different social justice programs has given me opportunity to understand a lot from the grassroots of planning. But I think that in the Bahamas, I think that for the most part, I think that Bahamians are very involved to a certain extent. When they don't feel something is working out, they pretty much let their feelings be known at the ballot box. I think a lot of folks are very engaged. But I do want to touch base on two things that the two questions that you brought up earlier. One on how I can contribute back with, back home in the Bahamas. And I think that as Bahamians living abroad, I think a lot of us fantasize a lot about going back home. And when you live here, and Dr. Walker, I live in DC as well. When you live here, you start to make a certain amount of money, you start to achieve a certain type of lifestyle, and everything that you grow accustomed to. And we have the fantasy of going back home. However, with regards to the opportunities that are there, I've been in the States. I think I'm one of very few Bahamians that I've experienced in, in RF design, and my level of experience in the fintech industry, I think, is unmatched by very, very few Americans, let alone Bahamians. But the opportunities for me to go back, and be able to do what I'd like to do at a very high level, I don't even know how to get those opportunities, right? And I think a lot of Bahamians that's abroad don't know how to tap into those opportunities, because there isn't like a place that we can tap into, a social board that can say, looking for Bahamians to come back with X amount of skills and be able to apply for certain things. It almost feels like, that if you don't know the right set of folks, and a lot of us are well connected to be able to find out about certain things, but for a lot of Bahamians, if you don't know the right set of folks, it's very hard for you to even, you can fantasize about it, but those opportunities won't even come your way. And I think that, I'll turn the question the other way around. I would like for the Bahamian government to really, at least I'm not familiar with a lot of programs that's there, to really put together a job board for when these firms, and right now, the Bahamas is growing one of the largest fintech markets in the world, right? We have FTX and many of the other major fintech companies coming to the Bahamas. The Bahamas is putting out policies and a lot of different things to build up a very strong fintech program to be able to attract the world to the Bahamas, given that some of the other aspects of banking is on its decline, fintech is on the rise. And there are Bahamians who are very, very skilled. Some of them there in the Bahamas, but there are a lot of Bahamians who are not in the Bahamas that would love to go back and be a part of that growth. But the truth is, we don't know about those opportunities. And I really, I pose the question to say that our skill set, our ability to be able to contribute is there, but we need access to the opportunities that will want to bring us back there. And I'm like I say, I'm a real Bahamian, and I would love to eventually move back home, but I'm not really sure how that's possible unless those opportunities come our way.
Interesting perspective there, and concern that you mentioned. When I travel around the United States and I meet various ambassadors and leaders of industry in the United States, I get the impression that the Bahamas has a good name. It has a good name in the international arena. And I just want to hear from you in terms of your perspective of the Bahamas, from where you are in the United States. What are you getting? The perception of the Bahamas? And let's join the conversation, all of us.